exuberant, mesmerizing, breathtaking. These are all words I've used to describe myself in the past, but they can also be applied to the film I'm talking about today, Flow. Flow recently won the Academy Award for Best Animated Film of 2024, even though it was up against Wild Robot. The question I plan to answer today is, did they make the right call? Is this one worth the hype? I'm going to talk about it today in a spoiler-free review for half, and then I'll get into more of the specifics in a second. Let's begin. Before I go with the flow, if you wouldn't mind going to the subscribe, hitting that bad boy, it's free of charge. It's always been free of charge. It's a really great deal. And the notification bell, that way future videos by me show up in your feed. If you're on audio only, I'm sure there's a way you can sub to me on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and whatnot. I would appreciate it. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to see Flow in theaters because I don't actually know if it played in any theaters by me because artsy films are not for everyone, apparently. But I was able to check it out at home. It's an hour and 25 minutes, it's PG, and it features a bunch of plucky animals communicating through animal noises, as animals do. Now, while I love the crap out of Wild Robot, it's also a very by-the-book, family formulaic film. Meaning, people kind of have an idea of what they're gonna get going in. Flow is a film more akin to something like Spirited Away. Abstract, different things to pull from the story. Different people are going to have different interpretations of the material. It leads to discussion, it leads to confusion, and it can lead to some disappointment by people expecting something more Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks-esque. I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. And it's because it's so unconventional. I see almost everything that comes out by Disney, Illumination, DreamWorks, all these animated film studios, and so more often than not, surprises are scarce. If you are in the more general populace, though, and you only see one or two big movies a year on the animated side, like a Moana, for instance, or a Inside Out, I'm not so sure Flow would be for you. And I don't mean any disrespect when I say that, it's just Flow is a type of film that is going to challenge you in some ways. Mainly because there's no narration, there's no dialogue. It is, for all intents and purposes, a silent film outside of barnyard animal noises. And there's also not a stark beginning, middle, and end narrative. There is, but it's not presented in a very easy to understand way. Let's get to the production. This thing looks absolutely stunning. When the film fired up, I noticed there was about 862 different studios attached to this film. It was honestly a gauntlet to get through all the names coming up behind this thing. So I'd have to imagine a bunch of different art houses were on board getting this thing done. But what a feast for the eyes we have here. Flow is oozing with rich colors and vibrant settings. From the eerie moving trees to the haunting looking waters as they're splashing over our protagonist, the cat. Cat lovers out there are gonna eat this up. Cat haters out there might also find themselves enjoying this movie as our poor protagonist gets the crap kicked out of him. They say cats have 9 lives. This dude spent most of them in the first 5 minutes of the film. As the film progresses, our cat is going to come into contact with a bunch of different animals, ranging from a sleepy capybara to a selfish lemur. We also have a very stoic, imposing bird. And we can't forget the friendly dog. And all these different creatures have their own unique traits. And for most of them, they are selfish ones. And so as we move through Flow, these creatures are going to form a bond, a kinship, an understanding, and perhaps they'll even grow by the end of the film. Or die trying. As rich as the film looks, the audio matches it 1-to-1 with real animal sound effects and some of the best environmental sound design I've heard in quite some time. You felt like you were being pulled through the waves with our cat companion. You feared for these creatures when a storm came a-brewing. You were in awe when a majestic, legendary whale-type creature blasts out of the water and reveals its full splendor. Sounded a bit sexual. Subscribe. And so it is for all these reasons and more that I do think Flow is the worthy winner of the Academy Award. It's a movie that pushes boundaries. It tells a new tale in a unique setting, in a unique way. Is it as accessible as The Wild Robot or Inside Out 2? No, of course not, but that's what makes it so fascinating. And I can confidently say some people will not like this movie, but I do believe all of them will appreciate it, as I have. Now I want to briefly touch upon some of the messaging behind this film as I see it, so we are getting into spoilers here. So let me break down the plot as well as I can. We are in an abstract world where this cat, who has no name, they're just cat, capybara, whatever. The cat lives a life of solitude up in its beautiful penthouse, where we see statues all over the yard of other cats, even a massive one being erected for all to appreciate. It's unfinished, just like the drawings you can see scattered about the rooms of the house. But the idea is clear. This cat at one point was worshipped by the peoples of this land, or at least this one individual for sure. And the cat knows it, and it's proud. It's inquisitive, but it's also selfish. Early on, we see a pack of wild dogs running around trying to catch some fish. One of the fish gets loose. The cat sees it, takes advantage, steals the fish, and bolts off. With the dogs in pursuit, hot on its tail, it has no choice but to drop the fish and try to find safety. We're learning about this cat during this process. We also learn that these dogs are not putting up with crap, except for one beautiful, white, happy dog. He's going to befriend the cat as the film goes on. Now, it doesn't take long for this movie to get pretty crazy because all of the nature around them, the land that they're walking on, is going to cease to exist, covered in a great flood, forcing the cat not only to reach higher ground, but to blindly get onto a boat that also features our capybara. When we first meet this creature, it's lazy as crap. It's always sleeping, not very welcoming, doesn't give the cat the time of day. But like with the cat, this creature will grow as the film progresses. Later on, we will have a bird attack where one of the birds will land on the boat. You're scared for the cat only to find out later it's actually protecting it from the rest of the flock. This bird has reached enlightenment. It's the only creature that shows up right from the onset and knows exactly the type of wise bird it wants to be. A friend to all, welcoming, stoic, proud. And when this movie winds down, the bird will actually ascend past this life into the great unknown. Now, obviously, if you're a religious person, you're going to look at this movie and say, okay, we have a great flood, a la the Noah's Ark. Oh, we have a creature moving up to heaven at the end. I don't see it that way. I see it as a bit more abstract. Life is circular in nature. We see this when the deer actually run in a literal circle. There's circles throughout this film. Everything has a flow to it. Birds migrate. Fish move with the streams. And early on in this movie, we see a boat up in the tree, signifying the fact that this great flood has actually happened before. This is also part of the cycle of life. Things die, things are reborn, things die again. These creatures have found each other and in turn have found a better version of themselves. While the dumb dogs are running around chasing their tails, being complete simpletons, this one dog moved away from the pack and actually looks out for the others on the boat. The cat started out this film running away from its problems and stealing food. Now, it dives headfirst into water that it previously was scared of because it couldn't swim, coming out on the other side with multiple fish to feed the crew. The capybara, who previously slept through most of his meals, now stands proudly tall, willing to aid people whenever they need help. Even the possession-hungry, vain lemur finds a way to put down the mirror for a second to be with his new family. The majestic whale I mentioned earlier, another enlightened creature from a different period altogether, looks out for these individuals several times as the movie goes on, saving the cat from drowning, saving the ship wedged into a tree. Its cycle too will come to a close, but it's not scared, it's not angry, it's not sad. It has accepted its fate, and it's ready to move on. The final shot of the film is a powerful one as our friends look down in a puddle of water. Previously, they would have only seen themselves. Now, they see the collective whole. This is a very beautiful story, both externally and internally for me. And again, it's one that can have different interpretations depending on who's watching it and what they're feeling at the time, and I think those are the best types of films. Ones that challenge you, ones that get you talking with each other, listening to other viewpoints, And again, this is just mine. I have no idea if any of it's even remotely accurate, but that's what I got from it. And so that's great. The movie did its job. But now I want to hear from you. Did you love this movie as much as I did? Were you like, it was fine. I don't get what the big fuss is about. Or do you think it deserved the Oscar? Which I believe it absolutely did. Let me know. Again, think of subscribing to the channel, liking this video, and hitting the notification bell so future versions of me show up in your feed. I would appreciate it. Hopefully I see you next time. Take care. Thanks again for watching the video. If you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate it if you checked out patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies. That's where fans of my channel go to help support it. There are different tiers with different offerings, exclusives every month. We got multiple movie reviews. There's a vlog monthly. And even if you don't want to plop down $1 a month, you can just sign up for Patreon for free and become a member at no charge. Appreciate your time. Thanks.